Hello and welcome to the part two of the episode Indian space industry poised for breakthrough or bursting the bubble. So, we have discussed a lot of aspects of the Indian space industry, both from the policy perspective, the private perspective, as well as the public funding as well. So, now we'll be taking a deep dive more into the capital supply chain and the talent management as well. So, Chaitanya, welcome back again to the part two of the episode. Always, as usual, as I mentioned previously, also, it's always great to speak with you. To continue with our conversation, I would now like to take a deep dive into more into the talent management as well. But I would like to start with some basic questions. So, from your perspective, are Indians private space companies investing adequately in R&D, human capital, technical expertise to foster innovation, or is there a reliance on existing technologies and partnership? Also, just a follow up on this: how competitive are Indian space companies on the global stage when it comes to cost, technology, and reliability?
So I have positive things to say here. So I won't be pessimistic. Although I'm not pessimistic, I'm more of a realistic person. Uh, that yes, our companies are doing well when it comes to talent management. But and that is because good STEM talent or management talent or finance talent is or even marketing talent is easily available in India because we are a big country, we are a young country, well educated, very refined population. So human capital is not a problem. And taking advantage of this great human capital, a lot of Western companies from diversified sectors are right now setting up their global capability centers here in India. So, given that, there shouldn't be any second thoughts about talent within the country. We have more than adequate talent. We are ready to use this talent here in India for ourselves, and this talent, uh, even if the government does not decide to channelize it, this talent has the ability to get absorbed quite naturally in a lot of other innovation ecosystems,
Yes.
and which has been happening for a very long time. So I'm very much confident about the human capital, and they are being utilized well. But are they being utilized for avant-garde technologies? Are they being utilized for technologies that will be disruptive, even from the solutions point of view? I don't think so. That's not happening. And for that, you need gumption from the point of view of the founders, from the point of view of the investors, and I don't see that happening as of now. So, if I am to think about certain startups, I can't think beyond the founders of these startups because I don't know many people are in there. So when I'm talking about I'm talking about as a layperson who's not aware of the space sector. I just know the names, the brand names of the startups, their logos, and the two founders or one founder who's very much visible on LinkedIn or on other social media platforms. Beyond that, I don't know who's working in there. That shouldn't be the case. If you really want a flourishing ecosystem, you need to know the who's who. I'm not talking about the movers and shakers. I'm talking about the who's who within the space ecosystem, and that knowledge is not known. So you need a dedicated HR platform to really tap what kind of talent is working in India, what kind of talent that India is missing should be brought in from other places. Because if we are to believe that Indian startup ecosystem will only depend on Indian talent and nobody else would
Yes.
be allowed to come and work in, that's not the case. You'll have to let in a lot of overseas talent to come and populate at certain strategic positions within the ecosystem. Just the way you have been going and working in Europe, you're working in Europe, I worked in Europe, in the United States. Just the way we go and work there, we need good talent from there to come and here and
Yes.
be cogs in the machinery, the larger machinery of the Indian space ecosystem. That part is not happening as of now. Well, the reason being, perhaps the companies are not that exciting yet, right now. perhaps the money that is getting offered to them is not that exciting yet. And one major thing to do for bringing back a lot of our talent is not actually related to the space sector, but is the state of our cities. So
Yes.
if I tell you the singular reason why people move out of India, even if they are really well to do here, is because they want to live lives in places where there is a better standard of living, there is a healthier way of living, which is not the case here. So it's poor roads, it's poor infrastructure, it's unbreathable air, which has now become the reason for exodus of Indian talent or Indian, middle class or upper middle class. The reason for them to move out. Now, if that is the
Yes.
reason for certain people to move out, that will also be a deterrent for other people to come in.
Yeah.
So it becomes very important for the larger governance system to think about these aspects.
Yeah.
If you really want Indian high tech companies,
Yeah.
and space is the pinnacle of that high tech, if you really want these places to do well, you'll have to make good cities. You'll have to
Yes.
refine the governance of these cities.
Yeah.
So
I
it
agree with
can't
you.
be it can't be a swanky Gurgaon, it can't be a swanky Hyderabad or a Mumbai where I am in, with really swanky high-rise towers, a Trump Tower, a this mall, a that mall, a fantastic car showroom, and sitting beside is a large heap of solid or wet waste, stinking. Okay, or
Yes.
waste that is getting burnt or incinerated out there in the open. It can't be that.
Yes.
So we Indians, as we prosper, as we and we are right now in 2025. So the people who are right now joining the workforce were born in 2000. They haven't seen the 20th century. So we have a new
Yes.
population coming in. We have a new in the workforce. They haven't
Yeah.
seen the 20th century. They aspire India to be uh, an India of the 21st century, and an India of 21st century needs to have certain attributes, and this is the attribute that I'm talking about. That human capital will only come if you administer your cities, your towns, your
Yes.
places well. Uh, you'll have to learn lessons from Tokyo, learn lessons from, let's say, Dubai, how to attract talent.
Absolutely.
So that
That
is
is
on the human
important.
capital. On R&D and on technical expertise, see, you can't do R&D entirely out of venture capital money. You'll have to have support from the government. You'll have to have continuation of contracts, business contracts from the government, and the government is yet to develop a habit of giving out smooth contracts. So there are contracts
Yes.
being given out through Ministry of Defense, through other ministries, but those are not coming in really smoothly. So they need to be smooth. It needs to be incessant. There needs to be steady business for these startups, just
Yes.
the way the Americans have been supporting. So you need to give them steady business. You need to have a controlled ecosystem, very well tight knit, but feed them continuously. Let them work continuously. Let them innovate. Let them better their product. Uh, I don't see that happening at a pace that it should.
Yes.
A lot of space companies are right now just on the verge of demonstrating the initially promised product line.
Okay.
So I have not seen the second product line coming out of a particular space startup. So we're still stuck onto the first line. Of course, the gestation periods are higher, so it will take its own sweet time. But I'm yet to see Indian startups going through that phase of their lives, where they move on from one generation of technology to the next generation.
Next generation. Yes.
Yeah, so that has not happened,
Definitely.
and that requires adequate R&D investment, and that R&D investment must come through governments, which
Yes.
is not. which is not happening. It will happen, uh, given that there
Eventually,
are eventually,
yes,
because there are now external factors which will force the government to think about it, and I'm
yes,
sure the government will think about it. And as part of your second question, how are we in terms of reliability, uh, cost factor basis? We are good. We're doing good. We are doing good in terms of cost factor basis. We are doing good in terms of technology. Reliability kicks in only when you demonstrate. So that demonstration is yet to happen. But given the fact that there is enough confidence, uh, and investors keep a tab, they have external uh, peer who review the progress of the technology, and I haven't heard anything bad about any of our Indian companies, which is a good thing. So once the demonstrations happen, the reliability factor will also be uh, verified.
interesting. You mentioned about the reliability and the other things about manufacturing as well. So I'd like to basically joint up that part primarily over here because we're talking about we briefly spoke about tariffs also, actually the US tariffs scenario which is going on at the moment. So given the reliance on imported components for critical technologies, what steps are being taken to develop a self-reliant supply chain within India? And I'm particularly very interested into this because we uh, have been doing supply chain consulting for quite a long, but very recently, since past year and a half, we launched a dedicated platform where people actually integrate, kind of interact on a real-time basis for the supply chain management in multiple industries, and in which the space industry is one of them. And we have observed this fact that a lot of critical technologies India imports,
Yes.
and I think it should be other way around. If a country needs to scale up to a new level or become a dominant force in the world, the exports should be higher than the imports. So yeah, on to you.
So unfortunately, the Indian space program has not yet become accustomed to supply chains, because again, for a very long time it was ISRO. It used to build two or three PSLVs, few five or six satellites. They just know where to get a certain component from, assemble it, fix it, add their own indigenization and components to it, and launch it. That's it. End of the story. But that can't be the case now. You need to have a self-reliant supply chain. You need to
Yes.
ensure, you need to map the entire uh, you know component map of where your certain platform, be it a satellite, be it a launch vehicle, where are the components coming from. uh, Now the Americans have come up with a word known as friend shoring. Can India do the same? Can India friend shore? uh, is India in a position to do friend shoring? Because Indian entities talk or interact both with the Russian bloc as well as with the American bloc. So for India, both are friends. But when
Yes.
it comes to collateral damages in a tariff war, none of these friendships work because these are collateral damages. So I'm not very sure how self-reliant is our supply chain at this point in time, because we can't be depending on any one of them if we want to prevent these collateral damages. So there is reliance on space grade electronics. There is reliance on certain kind of composite materials.
Yes.
There is reliance on certain kind of alloys. Very few, and for that very reason, you need to ensure that all these are made here in India. Now you can invite some of these companies to set up their shop in India so that the supply chain issues are eliminated. But these are supply chain issues at the level of component. What do you do when supply chains issues arise when it is at a raw material level? So especially materials that require rare earth elements.
Yes.
Now, in the recent sort of blazing attacks that have been happening between China and United States, China has very well sort of dared the Americans that we have a kill switch that we are going to eliminate uh, our supply chains of rare earth materials, certain critical elements that are of great importance to the American space, defense, and aerospace sectors. So, what do you do in that case? So, if it is not going to the Americans, it is certainly also not going to the Europeans. If it is not going to any of them,
Yes.
you are not sitting here. You can't get that component because that raw material chain has been disrupted. So,
Yeah.
what do you do? So that's the reason why you need to come up with alternatives. You need to reduce dependency not only at a component level but also at a raw material level. And how do you eliminate dependency? Through innovation. You need to identify a replacement product or a replacement component which is made up of something which is made up of a raw material that is easily available to you. Now that is going to take a lot of time. That is going to take away a lot of R&D bandwidth out of you. But this is something that India will have to be prepared for. And I'm not restricting this particular problem only to the space sector. This will also begin to affect our defense
Other sectors.
manufacturing,
Yes.
yeah, and aerospace manufacturing primarily. So things are not really bright when it comes to that particular aspect. Uh, we are import dependent for sure. There's no denying that fact, and we need to reduce that dependency. It can't be only through home shoring these companies. It will have to be at a raw material level, and that requires innovation.
Yes. And just to step ahead, and again, these are again the challenges that I'd like to focus on. So considering the current challenges and achievements of the complete landscape of the Indian space industry, what should India's strategic priorities should be for the private sector in the next decade?
See, strategic priorities are of three or four types. So, one is a strategic priority of messaging and setting of narratives on which we
Yes.
are doing well. So, by announcing a space station, by announcing the plans to go to the moon, plans to have a mission to Venus, to Mars, you are messaging well that you are here for greater space
Long game.
exploration. Long,
Yes.
we are here for the long game.
Game.
That is number one.
Yes.
But then uh, the supply chain is another strategic priority. We just spoke about it.
Yes.
So, and it works on a different plane altogether. So the narrative is a very superficial plane. Going to the
Yes.
moon, going to Mars is very superficial. Unless and until you ensure that whatever you have invested in that particular mission trickles down to other sectors. So let's
Yes.
say a mission that is going to Mars or to Venus, for example, is it helping our defense industry? If it is not, then that mission is of no value. It is just a touristic mission.
Yes.
So if you are visiting, let's say as an individual, a certain country, you're not only going there to have fun time, even if it is summer holidays. You're going there to meet people. You're going to there to make new contacts, new
Yes.
friends, and perhaps benefit out of it.
Yes.
It could be tangible or intangible benefits. That's the purpose why people travel. People travel to meet new people, to
Yeah.
do new business, to explore new opportunities in life. The same way, are our missions going to the moon, going to Mars, going to Venus? Are they going to bring back some certain strategic benefits that are tangible, that are immediate? That is not known yet. I'm
Yes.
not sure of any of our earlier missions, any of our three Chandrayans, or any of our other missions, if they've been percolating their technological output in other sectors. Now that is
Yes.
another challenge where ISRO does the missions, there is money invested, there is money spent, uh, you stay in the news, you stay in the narrative of the country, positive narrative of the country, but it does not. result in anything tangible. So I don't want India to be in that particular situation.
Yes,
So there needs to be something for everyone. There needs to be something for other industries to take away. And
absolutely.
if sanctions, supply chain disruptions, and tariffs are the norms of the game that is being played today, I am of the opinion, and I have been saying this for quite some time, India is heavily dependent on analytical instruments. So the
Yes,
analytical instruments that are working in your hospitals, in your scientific laboratories, your defense laboratories, your civilian laboratories, your industrial laboratories, your academic laboratories, India purchases nearly 95% instruments. The import dependency is that high. We do not manufacture anything in India. And as I
mm,
said, if sanctions, tariffs, and trade wars are the game, this is where India is going to get hurt the most. If
absolutely.
if a group of countries, if a certain country decides that we are not going to export anything to you hereafter, that's it. It's gone.
That's a dead
It's
end.
gone.
Yes,
That's a dead end. None of your instruments will work. None of your laboratories will churn the necessary research, and if none of that is happening, your growth is stalled.
yes,
So it is here that a space mission can come to rescue. So an instrument that is built to go to Mars, can it be rejigged? Can it be reoriented to operate in our laboratories?
yes.
I haven't seen that happening yet. That
Yes.
should become a strategic priority for the country.
So tech transfer is missing from the space sector to the consumer market or
To the
other
consumer
industries.
market,
Yeah.
to the
Yes.
other industries, even
Yes.
within the scientific sectors.
Yes. Like the
So
way
if
MRI machines, IMAX cameras we saw in US, the tech transfer happened, through the
yeah,
space industry. Yeah.
yeah, and tech transfer needs to happen immediately till that technology is valid.
Yes.
If it becomes obsolete, there's no point transferring that kind of a technology.
Yes. I agree with you. Yeah.
So
And
technology has a lifespan of a dog, 10 to 15 years. If it is not
yes.
transferred in that
Yes.
period of time quickly with a certain agility and hurriedness and consideration, then it's
Yes.
of no purpose.
I
And
can
that
relate
should be
this to drug research as well, the medicine research. Pharmacy, they have a patent of 10 to 15 years max. I think 16 years is the max they have. Within that time, they need to recover the cost of drug development. So, completely agree
absolutely,
with you. Yeah.
absolutely. So that mindset is missing,
Yes.
and that should be a strategic priority. And the
Interesting.
third aspect is that use the space sector for strategically for bringing in efficiency in the civilian side of things and securing your country from external threats and even internal threats. So
Yes.
wise use of space technology is very important.
Absolutely. I just had one more point to add over here. I think you mentioned about if the countries block our access and all. I personally feel this is the. I mean, when I was started, I when I started working in Europe. I mean, it's a very funny thing. I started working in Europe, but my internship studies were related to Russia and China. But it gave me edge in the European market. Because of that, I was able to start my own firm. Later on, because the network expanded, and the reason, like, everyone had access to the data of Asian countries, Western countries, but no one had the access of data to China and Russia. So I think I got that strategic advantage to start my own firm. And while doing that internship, I got to know that China, it was at that level in 2017 and 18. I think they were on a level where Baidu navigation service was not fully rolled up. They were still planning, but the way they rolled out Baidu all across, outside of China especially, they used satellite navigation as a kind of a tool to basically expand or enhance their international relations in Central Asia. with Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan. China developed such amazing relationships with them on a tech level by using Baidu satellite navigation system. And they are trying to do even the same thing with other countries in Africa as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Like they connected over 10,000 villages in Rwanda and other states in the satellite communication domain. So I believe India is, I mean, if we see the southern hemisphere, I feel India is the top notch leader after China, I would say, primarily. But India is the top country, I would say, where, sustainability, economy, and, kind of, I would say, a big fat level of progressive things can happen on this level. And I
Hmm.
think India is the only country which has the capacity to primarily enhance this kind of international relations with other countries. And I think space tech can be used in this way as well. But I think we need to have at least a proper application in place where you can bag the trust of the other countries, not only for the economic purposes, but you bag them forever for all kind of relations, like friendship you were telling, right? So you create your own group of allies in a much more stronger manner by utilizing the space ecosystem. That's what I think China has done. So do you think this can be replicated? I'm not saying, of course, China's ways are also a lot, I think, in some ways aggressive also, even though it on the tech side it has been developing sustainable relationship. But I think India also has that advantage to do it on a lot of levels. So why we are basically not doing it?
You spoke about China, and especially around the time when they were rolling out Baidu, was when they were also rolling out the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yes, BRI, yes.
So BRI, so Baidu, satellite technology, GPS, which is the SatNav, all of them sort of floated and penetrated into all these BRI countries very well. So
Yes,
it was not just about road and rail networks. It was
yes,
also about building new cities, building new, infrastructure, helping these countries with space access. So there was something known as the space Silk Route that
yes,
was getting rolled out along with BRI. That's where companies like Baidu really, technologies like Baidu really proliferated. Does India have that kind of advantage? We do, but we'll have to come up with this, a similar grand plan. We did come up with a plan known as the India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. We have something known as the Chennai Vladivostok Corridor. We have something known as the International North South Transport Corridor. We have something known as the Asia Africa Growth Corridor. But the problem is, you have conflict on India's eastern and western periphery now. So
certainly.
getting out is very difficult. China did that. China did BRI in 2010s because things were very much placatory back then. But today, you have several geopolitical hotspots active. So coming up with any similar plan like that of China would be difficult. And even for China, it is now difficult for them to sustain BRI because that small window of global peace time has broken down completely.
Yes, it has vanished. Yeah.
It has vanished completely. So
Yes,
if you look back in 2013, 14, 15, things were much better in terms of uh, the hotspots. There were hotspots, they were active, but they were a bit more concentrated in North Africa, in West Asia. But today you have several hotspots open, and
yes,
that is going to be a major problem for us to come up with anything of that kind, unless and until a certain sense of orderliness prevails in the world.
absolutely. No,
But
definitely, I got the
uh,
insight. Yeah.
yeah, but are we supposed to wait until then? No, because there are certain things that need to be achieved in this
Yes,
particular period of uncertainty. And it is in this uncertainty period we must ensure that space becomes a very handy tool for us.
yes,
and that people should not lose faith in our ability to use space technology wisely.
Yes.
It's not a vanity kit. It's a kit that is to be used really wisely and prudently and in a very tactical manner.
Interesting. And so I think I really got the answer to this question, because I think, as you mentioned, the conflict zone has kind of wider implications now in today's world. So things won't be possible. And I think, as you mentioned, yeah, China, the BRI thing, we haven't heard about that thing now for quite a while now.
Quite a
Otherwise,
while now.
BRI,
Yeah.
yeah, BRI, until before the COVID time, I think BRI was on a very much, kind of in a humongous way they were promoting it. I still
Yeah.
remember when I was doing internship, people were scrambling for what kind of companies are actually providing these services and all, and I mean, I was the only one who had taken the project in the internship. I mean, I didn't choose it. I took internship, and that's what I got. I didn't had any other option. So I was the only one who was working in our whole class on a Chinese and a Russian project. So I saw the people's demand. At that time they were scrambling for the name of the companies. Who is basically providing this infrastructure, who are trying to provide satellite TV. I think it was back then in Africa. It was Star One from China was providing services at that time. I don't know what is the update now. We haven't really heard anything about satellite TVs and all in Africa from
Yeah.
China that is happening. But I think they have moved a little bit ahead. China is now manufacturing satellites for African countries like Egypt.
Hmm.
Even I think Angola also they are trying. I don't remember exactly, but I think I had read somewhere. So I think at that time things were in downstream because BRI was there, but now things are more at an upstream level. I think several African countries satellite also have been launched by China, and I believe India should take the advantage of the African closeness or the roots that we have already, because there is a significant Indian population that exists in Africa at a much more higher levels, especially in the sub-Saharan African region. Even companies like Airtel are existing in Africa, so there is no way that we can't basically gain a competitive advantage in such a market. I think it's just the time that we need to take a step and expand things over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And proceeding ahead with the final question of this episode. So Chaitanya, we discussed a lot of aspects today, from policy to tariffs to talent management, R&D, innovations, and what all things Indian space sector can do and what we can expect in the next decade. So this question is more from your perspective. You can answer it the way you want. So can the Indian space industry maintain long-term growth while pushing for affordable services? And when I mean affordable services, it's literally mean also having profit, not like SpaceX. SpaceX has been a loss-making company for a long time,
Yeah.
giving out a terminal for $500 and charging $100 a month for internet. It's not even affordable for the middle class Americans. So is Indian space ecosystem in a position to kind of compete with that kind of price bracket? If yes, because we have to drop down to a one fourth of the price what SpaceX has been charging, according to the Indian population. So yeah,
Yeah.
on to you.
No, so I've been saying this for quite some time that India should not aspire to have a Elon Musk of its own because it's not worth it. So,
Yes.
there's only one Elon Musk, and he didn't even work in South Africa for it. He came to the United States to work for it, and that's a phenomenon which is very American in nature. It can't grow anywhere else, and it will bring doom and losses if that kind of a model, that kind of a personality is attempted in anywhere else, including India. So affordability is something that we should focus on. Yes, revenue is something that we should focus on, and profits is something that we should focus on. These are words that are not really taken well in many circles because profit is a bad word. You need to be loss making so to survive, but that's not the case, and we'll have to come away from this venture capital model this over dependence on venture capital is something that needs to be avoided now, because when even if you look at the entire Startup India program, when it began, you had money flowing in from the Chinese venture capitalists, from Europeans, from South Korea, from Japan, and also from the United States. Slowly and steadily, South Korean and Japanese money dwindled. SoftBank, it dwindled. So there's no money coming from SoftBank and other Korean and Japanese sources. Then you had Chinese money. Galwan did the trick. There is no Chinese money coming in thereafter. Okay. Uh,
Yes.
we were then dependent on European venture capital and American venture capital. Now, with European economies trying to reorient to the new realities of geopolitics, I don't think European venture capitalists will invest in India. Their priorities are now very much different. Their priorities are to raise the European defense infrastructure, ensure that European security is a priority for them and not anybody else's. And uh, so, what remains today is only the American ecosystem that is supporting it. So that's the reason you have Indian startups, some of them now setting up their shops in United States. But if you ask them any other opportunity of setting up shop somewhere else, there's none. There's none. They'll vie for contracts in the United States for contracts that are coming from Pentagon, but there's no other contracts coming from elsewhere.
Yes.
So we need companies uh, who would grow based on revenue, and yet
Yes.
at the same time it is the government's responsibility to offer them that revenue in
Yes.
return of good high-tech services. And I'm not just talking about the central government, I'm talking about the state governments, I'm talking about making sure that local governance mechanisms are also consuming a lot of these downstream services, and including you and I. If there is any innovative solution where which is subscriber based, which is available on a palm top, which is very much of importance for you and me, perhaps while traveling as a commuter, or perhaps for any other kind, then we must become consumers of space tech. But
Yes.
but cultivating those consumers, cultivating those end users is something that is not happening. So affordable services will only be possible once you cultivate end users in large numbers, consumers in large numbers, and that is the only way to grow at scale. And like I
Yes.
said, you can't be a pure play space company in India. That's another fact to be considered. That you can afford, you can provide an affordable service to a certain extent, but beyond that, you'll have to generate revenue from somewhere else to upkeep this particular sector. Space is difficult.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely well noted on this point. So, yeah, I think we are finishing this episode on this note. So, thank you very much, Chaitanya, for
My pleasure.
providing such amazing insights. As always, I'm pretty sure after this episode as well, I'm going to receive a lot of messages because I think I even sent you the screenshot of the people what
You
they were
did, you
saying
did.
about the yeah what they were saying about the episode. A lot of messages I even receive on LinkedIn as well. So I hope in the future episodes we discuss even more deeper things. I think this is the first time I personally also got into the deep roots of the Indian space ecosystem, and I think I would definitely be very much interested to next time maybe to discuss geopolitical and the international relations as well as the critical minerals like I would say rare earth minerals supply chain, and it's on the impacts of this all these elements on the space and the defense ecosystem as well in general, because that's a, alarming question of the hour basically,
Absolutely.
due to the tariffs and the way things are going at the moment. So would be definitely would love to discuss this in the next episodes for sure. Until then, thank you very much and have a great week ahead.